Victoria lived in a small village, forgotten by time, where the inhabitants lived in the shadow of old legends. The village seemed suspended between the present and ancient beliefs that had never truly been forgotten. The lake, stretching just beyond its borders, was more than just water to them. For many, it was a forbidden place, full of mysteries that were better left undiscovered. They said that what lay beneath its surface were dark forces capable of stealing one's soul. Victoria had always felt different. Though her family was just another part of the village, she felt a deeper connection to the lake. When she was only 5, she noticed that every time the full moon illuminated the water, she could hear a faint whispering. At first, she thought it was just her imagination, childish illusions. But as the years passed, the whispers grew clearer, impossible to ignore, and she began to realize that something truly strange was happening. The villagers warned her about the lake, claiming it was full of the spirits of the drowned. To them, she was just a curious girl, unknowingly drawn to an unseen force. For years, she tried to ignore it, but the whispers grew stronger with each passing day. The wind carried voices that seemed restless, waiting for someone to pull into the darkness of the lake. One night, when the moon burned red, casting a crimson glow over the water, Victoria could no longer resist the pull. Her heart pounded, her body felt weightless, as if the voices were calling her home. She crossed the boundary of the land and stepped onto the shore, facing the great expanse of water. Her breath was fast and uneven, her hands cold from the wind that lashed against her skin. The lake was still, but as she gazed upon it, she saw something she couldn't comprehend. The moon's reflection shifting, distorting into a crimson smear like a vision of an inverted world. Then she heard it, the whisper, unmistakable this time. It spoke her name. Victoria. Before she could react, something strange happened. Her body began to lift slightly off the ground, as though an unseen force was drawing her toward the lake. A consuming silence enveloped her, and the water lapped at her feet, leaving no trace in the sand. With each step she took toward the lake, the mystery surrounding her deepened. The whispers turned into a full, haunting voice that seemed to tear at her very soul. Truth, truth, the voices chanted. The water darkened, shifting into something unknown. A growing unease swelled within her, yet she couldn't stop. Victoria stood frozen at the lake's edge, holding her breath. The air around her thickened, heavy with an unseen presence. The water rippled unnaturally, its surface flickering between crimson and black, changing shape with each heartbeat. A force stronger than fear beckoned her forward. Her heart pounded louder, her fingers trembled. She was no longer alone. The water was alive. It wasn't just a lake, it was a gateway, something beyond human understanding. The whispering turned into a scream. A terrible, deafening sound filled her mind. Victoria, the truth. You must know the truth. The voice was layered, as if spoken by many at once. It clawed at her thoughts, both terrifying and mesmerizing. The water reached her ankles, then her knees, then her waist. Step by step, it consumed her. And then she saw it. Emerging from the depths before her was a figure, identical to her. It wasn't a reflection. It wasn't just a trick of the light. It was her. But its eyes were hollow, empty, lifeless. The figure stared at her, yet it didn't seem to see her at all. I am you, and you are me. Everything you know about yourself is a lie. Find the truth. The words echoed inside her like a crashing wave. Something was happening to her, something beyond comprehension. Her heart raced, her breath quickened. What she was witnessing shattered everything she believed. How was this possible? What did it mean? Then, the realization struck. What stood before her in the water wasn't just a reflection, it was a part of her. a part she had carried all her life but never understood. The dark truth hidden within the lake was now about to consume her. The whispers swelled, then vanished into silence, but the silence did not erase what had happened to her. She understood now. She was no ordinary girl from the village. She was bound to the lake, woven into its mystery for generations. It was her purpose to pull others in, to surrender herself, to maintain the balance between the living and the dead. She was part of this eternal cycle, where the living became prey and the dead dragged them into the abyss. The water, once her enemy, was now her home. The secret she had sought had become her fate. As the water reached her neck, her body lost touch with the land. She drifted toward the lake's depths, swallowed by an endless void. Something pulled her down, further and further, beyond the point of return. And for just a moment, just a fleeting moment, she felt an overwhelming peace. Then, everything became clear. Her life, once filled with simple routines, had always carried a greater purpose. She was never meant to be ordinary. She was the lake's guardian, a keeper of its secret, a bridge between those who had passed and those who remained. She was part of the endless game, the game where the living fell victim and the dead pulled them under. The water that once called to her now embraced her. She had become one of them. She disappeared into the depths of the lake, and there she would remain forever.